Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, Jon Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. And let's talk about the Eagles' win over the Washington Redskins Commanders. However you want to do it, it doesn't matter. The Eagles, 8-2, 6 wins after, Nicky shaves his head. I mean, Dan, what do you think about this game? I got some feelings here.
I think that they proved that they are the class of the division. I think that we can feel a little bit better about how they stand in the division. And I honestly think that this game was really an indication of how dominant they can be. Even when they didn't start that great, but it just proves that we can turn it on at the drop of a hat and be a really good elite team.
But we only turned it on and drop it hat in the fourth quarter. Dan, this game to me felt slow, concerning. To me, just so if you take the fourth quarter out of this, 6 points, 6-10. That's the way it was going into the fourth quarter. Now you look at the ending score was 18-26, and you're like, wait a second. Yes, they scored 20 points. We're going to get to that because Saquon is a beast. But Dan, I'm a little concerned. I mean, I got to talk about, obviously, and mention it, and you're probably going to kick me for it. No first quarter points, but we 2 games this season we've had first quarter points. But it just felt very, very slow.
Yeah, it did feel slow. So when I say dominate, I thought that throughout the game they dominated. In terms of
Defense
yards,
dominated.
they were able to. Well, yeah, the defense absolutely dominated. But I felt they got yards. They just weren't ending drives well, and we'll talk about their field goal woes. But
jump right on it now, man. Jump right on it now. Let's talk about the field goal concerns because this is not the first, the second, or the third time.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people are crucifying him, Elliott, and I agree. He had an off night, and he's had a rough season, to be honest with you. He hasn't made a 50-yard field goal, yet. But the question I guess you raise yourself is, are you ready to give up on him? And I personally am not at that yet because of what he's done in the past for us. I believe that he can come out of the rut and make some clutch kicks for us. But it is concerning, but I wouldn't go sound the alarm yet to where we're bringing in journeyman kickers, like, just ridiculous kickers out there. So, but
I'm not
I
ready
agree
to
that
sound the alarm on him. I think he's a good guy and everything, but I am concerned for the season. We're 14 of 19 field goals, which when you look at that 5, yeah, that's a little bit. And thankfully, we didn't lose the games that we needed the field goals in. When it mattered the most, when he missed those 2-in-1 game, and we closed out the game with a game-winning field goal, everything got washed away.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on him yet. Am I a little bit concerned? Yeah, but I think that he'll turn it around. And as we saw, for whatever reason, this week in the NFL, it was a trend for the kickers to just be garbage. So
Extra
luckily,
points,
it's
everything.
not just us.
Yeah. Hey, maybe, you know what? Maybe it's the balls. Just saying. Did the league issue new balls out there? Tom Brady, were you touching these balls?
Yeah, you pause the recording there, touching balls. Are your balls deflated?
I'm not pausing. That's staying in there. So wait a second. Think about it.
I had to talk in this sexy voice.
I'll make sure to tag Tom Brady in this one. And that I think some of the I'm not concerned about it in general. I don't think it's time to put him on notice or anything. Do you think Nick is having a talk with him or giving a pep talk, or is he just like, he's got this and I'm not going to worry about it? Or do you think he goes, hey, are you all right? Is everything all right? Do I need to cheer you on?
Yeah, probably. I mean, at this point, kickers have a weird mentality to where they can get in these ruts. I mean, you're seeing it with Justin Tucker, who is one of the best kickers the NFL has ever had. but yeah, I think there's conversations to be had, but I don't think it's like, hey, you suck. What the hell's going on? I think it's you're gonna make big kicks for us in the future, and you just need to turn it around, and I think he will. But yeah, like you kind of said, that a good thing that we didn't need him. I mean, we left 7 points out there. Um, so it's a good thing that we didn't need those points in this instance, as we were able to roll in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not sounding the alarm yet, but it is close.
Yeah. I'm not sounding it yet, but if it continues to the trend, and hopefully it's not in his head while he's playing the other games where he's like, "Oh shit, I missed these." I hope short-term memory. That's always what you got to kind of go
Mm-hmm.
into. Let's talk about offense a little bit. There's a couple of things that I'm not impressed with offense, and we just talked about this before in our last for the Cowgirls game. Is that obviously Jalen's holding the ball too long in the pocket too long. The reads going in, and the other thing is actually two things, and I'm going to let you jump in there, is why can't we do some short slant routes, quick outside, some screen plays? And the flea flicker did not work, or the gimmick play that they were trying to do was totally blown up with 11 yards in the backfield.
Yeah, so I want to ask your opinion on that. And thankfully, we're not sponsored by the NFL, because I'm going to ask this point blank to you: was Jalen concussed?
Okay, so for me and my gut feeling, and thank God we're not sponsored by it, there was some indication he was. How did he get
Mm-hmm.
past the third party physician on it? I don't know, but I think it looked like it, and there was indication he was, and he passed the test and he came back in. But I had a feeling he was, to be honest with you.
I agree. I thought that there were times that he was playing with his eyes, like, "Oh, I almost have something in my eye," and I
Yeah,
think that was crap. With some of the hits he was taking, it was taking him a while to get up, and I feel that he was concussed. But like you
yeah,
said, I don't know how the hell he passed the independent neurologist crap that
yeah.
they do, but thankfully he did. But I thought he was concussed.
I agree with you. I think this is a miss, and I think it's one of the things that was talked on a number of radios and talk shows going into it, is that he did look it coming out of it, and that's the problem. He holds the ball too long. He's getting hit. He's getting all these other things. If he would just get it out a little bit sooner, his running has got better. By the way, I do have to comment that when he does go out the run, he's not diving head first, or he's not taking that hit that he normally would take. I hated that sometimes he's sliding earlier, but at the same time, he is prone to a lot of things. So I'm glad he's doing that. But I agree. I totally think there was something wrong and off, and that the independent neurologist, I don't want to say possibly missed it, or he,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he faked it. I don't know how you fake that stuff, because it's a thorough exam. I know my son's been through it, so I know what all the questions they ask, but you can say yes or no in a lot of things, and they can't, tell you you're wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, not to give him a pass on the game, obviously, but I
Oh,
agree that he was.
at
And to go
that
back to
point
your
though,
flea flicker,
yeah, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
jump on that.
No, I was going to go back to your flea flicker. It's a double edged sword. Yeah, it failed badly, but it is showing a little bit of creativity. Like they did try it. It just
Yeah,
the blocking wasn't there, and for whatever reason, it just was horrible. But at least it's showing that they're trying new things,
yep,
and they are adding little wrinkles into this offense. But the short pass, we've been saying, where the hell is the running back screen? I mean,
yeah.
have we
My
just
God,
forgotten about that?
Saquon would be awesome out there as long as it's not a long ass floater and their corners are sitting on the route, because our corners used to stay off by 10 yards, would give it, and Saquon could do his hurdle crap. But at the same time, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw an actual West Coast running back screen. I mean, we got those stupid wide receiver screens, which I absolutely hate. But yeah, I think if they added some wide receiver, or I'm sorry, some running back screens in there, we have such an athletic offensive line in which we could just pave the road and he won't be touched for like 9, 10 yards.
I think there were some gimmick plays that they tried in some of the games. Devonta Smith in the backfield, but unfortunately, it didn't develop. Right, it wasn't the right read. Defense was kind of on it. The gimmick play you were talking about, I do want to indicate that Jordan Mailata was back in the lineup. Fred Johnson did an excellent job. I don't put him on that it was his issue. But I think at the same time, like it's his first game back after the hamstring. And in fact, I think we're doing great on the injuries. Everybody's coming back. But the screenplay, the running back, all those little short stuffs, I think you then, and we talked about this in our previous episode about relying on the talent. At that point, that would have been a great pass and rely on your talent to make a play. You remember the Jags game where Saquon got 20 yards with hurdles and Joe, you rely on that because he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I have no rebuttal to that. I completely agree. There's nothing. There should be nothing stopping them from doing that.
There was a couple of, I think it was like an off throw for AJ into it. The only thing that I wish to see more is that we have obviously the best wide receivers. We have AJ Brown, Devonta Smith out there. I would love to see Smith involved more. I just feel like he's not getting enough touches. Why? Are we reading AJ the entire time and then down to Smith, or are they getting double? I think the double can only happen on AJ, and you got to rely on Smith. Why don't you just do, overload aside and see how they go? And Goddard's back in, get Goddard back out there in a quick slant, and now you just spread the field.
No, I completely agree. I think Devonta Smith is being underutilized in this offense right now. And I would love to see him get just as many looks or just as many touches as AJ Brown. And I agree. He can break one at any time. He's a great deep threat. I mean, there's nothing that the guy does that's,
his
inadequate.
Hands are perfect, man. The crowd, he gets his, plus, I got to tell everybody.
He's got really nice hands.
Okay, so we're talking about balls and hands on this show. And I got to also tell you, I would really love to see Smith get some more. He's on my fantasy league, and I got to bench the guy for points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's such a good receiver. And I think I'd like to see more passes where he's the number one read in the play. And we saw that on a in slant that worked really well. But again, I'd like to see them focus more on that. AJ Brown he's going to get his no matter what. But I think Devonta Smith needs to be more of a focal point. Definitely agree with that.
Before we switch over to our defense, Dan, is there anything more on the offense? Right, and I don't want to talk about the fourth quarter yet. I'm going to jump back to it because the fourth quarter is really where the Eagles dominated this game. But I want to jump over to the defense. In the first three quarters, what were your thoughts on this game? And is there anything else that you saw that we want to touch on?
The only thing that I can think of is that they didn't run as many play action. And they weren't under center as much. Now, I don't know why they weren't, but it does seem to be the norm and what we kind of said in the last show was that they go in at halftime and they make those adjustments. Now, the adjustments took a little bit longer to hold, but they made those adjustments and they dominated. But again, we're sitting back here 8-2, and we can feel good knowing that we haven't seen a complete game yet. But we also can feel kind of worrisome because we haven't seen a complete game yet. So is it going to come? So it's a bit concerning.
I hope to see a complete game. Now, the reason I'm holding the fourth quarter to talk about, because there's a lot to talk about there, but I'm going to tell you the stats right now, is that the Eagles did not score anything into the second quarter with a field goal. And then in the third, the field goal. And the Redskins got the first quarter touchdown and a third quarter field goal. The actual stats, which seem really weird if you look at these numbers at first, is the Redskins got 264 total yards. In fact, their passing yards was 171 and their rushing was below 100. Now, when I tell you these stats, you're going to be like, holy crap. what happened in the fourth quarter. And if you didn't watch the game, you're going to be really surprised. So the Eagles total 434 yards. Passing was 206. Rushing was 228. Now that's a key number, 228. Just remember it as we get to it. Dan, I'm going to switch over to the defense. Holy shit. Do we have the best shutdown corners in the league? I mean, I think
it's close.
I'm voting for them. I'm voting for the Eagles defense MVP.
Yeah, I mean, Terry McLaurin was on an absolute, run. He was dominating corners left and right, and then he comes over to Quinyon Mitchell, and Quinyon Mitchell completely locked him down for 0 catches, 0 yards. And the rookie is just incredible. It's unbelievable to see him progress and see him come about. And Cooper DeJean, he's solid in the slot. And kind of like what we said in last show, Darius Slay's out there. He's not a liability. He lets up a few catches, but he's not getting beat over the top, which is, that's what's going to create issues for the defense, but it's just not happening. And it's great to see. It's good to get back to a defense that we're actually proud of. Yep. I mean, even the Super Bowl year, their defense wasn't that great. I know they got all the sacks.
They didn't adjust.
No, they didn't. And, I know they got all the sacks and everything, and they had a good pass defense, but I always felt that they weren't, aggressive. They were letting teams dictate to them too much, and then they'd adjust their defense accordingly. I feel like they're making teams adjust to them at this point because they're just bringing the hammer to them. And they got so many stars. I mean, Vic Fangio's hit every single thing here. I mean, Zach Baun, is Zach Baun not the best middle linebacker or weak side linebacker, whatever the hell you want to say, off-ball linebacker that in the NFL right now? Besides Fred Warner,
he
maybe?
has turned around from the Saints to when I saw him in training camp and I was like, Zach Baun, who the hell is it? You didn't even know to remember who he is. I actually had to look him up. I'm like, all right, cool. Everywhere. His name in every show that we are talking about, we are bringing him up because he is just all over it. I mean, he's just wherever the ball is, that's where he's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sure tackler, good instincts. There's nothing that the guy has been doing that's bad. And to go back to Quinyon Mitchell, because I don't want to forget this, did you happen to hear what his new anointed nickname is? I saw this 2 or 3 days ago.
No, tell me.
Tell me this isn't classic. So you got all big name corners have their own nickname. You got Dion, Primetime, whatever the hell it was,
Big
Revis Island, Big Play Slay. How about this? Quinyanamo Bay, because he just locks people up. Tell me that isn't great. Tell me that isn't a fantastic nickname. Quinyanamo Bay.
I gotta have to that. That's freaking Quinyanamo Bay. All right, that is awesome.
That's fantastic.
I absolutely love that. Definitely locks him up. What are your feelings on Blankenship, man? I know I gotta touch that.
I've never been a big fan of Blankenship.
No, really.
Yeah, well, but they haven't exploited him because they haven't asked him to come down into the box and actually play pass coverage. Yeah. He's been able to play back there and just rely on his instincts. And I thought I'll give him credit. He's had a hell of a year. He's looking really good. He got the interception.
Yeah.
And I was always critical of him. Yeah, I mean, I was always critical of him because I thought that he got lost in pass coverage, but he's not being asked to guard man-to-man because we actually have a legit slot corner that can cover man-to-man. So we can just have those cover 2 safeties. Or, I mean, we've had C.J. Gardner-Johnson playing some slot, and I thought he's struggled all year. But, I mean, we have the corners now in which we don't have to have teams exploit the weakness. So, yeah, he's looked really good.
One thing I got to talk about on the defense is you talked about Zach Baun, who is solid at tackling. In the beginning of the year, tackling sucked. It was atrocious. We were talking about left and right. There was 20 missed tackles going on. And if we talk about last year, defense was running into each other for routes. They were running all over each other. They got lost. I mean, open guys all over the thing. In the beginning of the year, there was concerns with not only the tackling, letting people go, not getting, but we were winning games. Yes, we're an Eagles fan, and kind of going on is that even though we're winning, we're not winning with total dominance in a lot of games, except for the Cowboys game. That was definitely a good dominant game. This one was a little concerning, but I have to tell, Vic has his defense phenomenal. The adjustments that they're doing, they're not getting lost in routes, the tackling, the shutdown. And now, in the beginning of the year, there was concern that our turnover ratio completely sucked, last in the league. I'm proud to say we're no longer last in the league, and that we're doing turnovers constantly, just capitalizing on a lot. And Blankenship's ending to that, the interception, he totally read Daniels, and it was like perfect.
Yeah, I completely agree. The defense has been absolutely amazing. And to the fact of where, so we're recording this on a Tuesday. We had the Monday night game last night. We are officially, and throw up the celebration, the balloons. We are officially the number one ranked defense in the NFL. We
And
are
we are
number one right now.
1.5 games ahead of the Redskins. We are in
Mm-hmm.
the NFC East. The top is like, it's a great feeling.
It is. It is. We have concerns on the offensive side of the ball. But I mean, we wouldn't be Philly fans if we didn't have concerns. But it is. We're back. What's the main thing as fans? You want to go out and you want to see the team having fun. It's fun again to be an Eagles fan. It wasn't fun at the end of last year. It really wasn't too fun at the beginning of the year.
No.
But it's fun. We're seeing the teams do celebrations. We're seeing they just seem like they're having fun, and it looks like the Super Bowl year again. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but
You were feeling the same
looks like the Super
thing.
Bowl.
I was about to say, it feels like the Super Bowl year. They're enjoying
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They're going in front of the camera. They're joking on the sideline. All that stuff makes, if you are not, obviously winning helps all that mood. But if you're not feeling it as a team, you're not going to win, and you're not going to do those.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. It's, you have fun. And I think that's why, even if they lose a game or two here, I don't think that they're going to collapse, because I think they're a tight unit. I think that Sirianni, I'll give him credit. He's got this team playing together. He's the rah rah guy, and he's, rah rahing his team up. And I think that they actually have adequate coaching now to be able to capitalize on their strengths and limit their weaknesses. Offensive side of the ball needs more work, but I have confidence that they will, because even if they're struggling in the passing game, and I think that's, I want to go back to that a little bit, is in the first 15 plays, they're usually scripted, 15, 20 plays. And what we're seeing more each game, and I'm taking notice of, is that they're being a little pass heavy on their first 15 plays. I think that Kellen Moore is kind of going back to his old roots on, I want to pass the ball. I want to pass the ball. And it isn't until like the second half that he says, okay, we're not having the greatest passing game.
Yep.
So we're just going to feed the beast. And once the beast gets involved, he just starts trucking people. He starts juking people. He backwards hurdles people. So it's just, once you admit that you need to start running again, that's when they start to succeed, in my opinion.
When you're talking about feeding the beast, let's just jump right in at fourth quarter, total domination. And I'm going to say, not just the Eagles, Saquon. 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes. It was amazing. Saquon over 1,000 yards rushing this season. He ran away with it in the fourth quarter. 200 yards. Actually, it was 199, 198, whatever. 2 TDs, long runs. I mean, Saquon totally dominated. And when originally, remember, I said total 228 yards for the game. 200 of those was Saquon. Just let you know, is he just not the best? I mean, the Giants got to be shitting a brick on this. He is just absolutely on the best team, having the most fun and dominating this.
Yeah, he is having the Christian McCaffrey effect on the Eagles, and that's what we were hoping would happen. And it is actually coming to fruition is that he is just an absolute monster. I mean, as you alluded to, he's got, I think, 1,130 rushing yards at this point. He's
Yep.
only like 15 yards behind Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry's played one more game because they haven't had their bye.
Yep.
So he really is just, and I heard it on the radio yesterday, but just imagine how many touchdowns he'd have. He has 8 so far. Just imagine how many touchdowns they'd have if he didn't have to give up his touchdowns to the tush push.
That's right. I think there were like 9 this season, so he would totally be in there. And in fact, I think first of all, Saquon is awesome to see. I got to tell you this: I was traveling last week. When I came in on Friday after the Thursday night game, I landed in Newark and the new Terminal A, and I'm walking by, and it was a jersey store. And they had this dummy, this mannequin, and I want to say because they had a Giants jersey, but they had Saquon's Giant jersey on there. And I took a picture and I said, "Hey, Newark, you might want to change this because he's no longer on the Giants." Just saying.
New Jersey just throwing it in their face, maybe.
Just a little bit, man. Like, move the damn jersey. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm a tough guy. All right, let's talk MVP. MVP for this season. I mean, first of all, defense. Quinyon Mitchell? Quintanamo Bay?
Quintanamo Bay.
Quintanamo Bay Mitchell. What are your thoughts here for defense?
Yeah, I don't think he'll win, obviously, Defensive Player of the Year, but at this point, I haven't kept up to it, but I don't think that if he doesn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's a sham. I mean, people are starting to finally take notice. I mean, Terry McLaurin getting locked down. We've had Mike Evans. You know, the list goes on.
CeeDee Lamb's been locked down. Olave's been locked down. Dude, I think he's less than 100 yards on his side. And we're in week 11 wrapped up.
Yeah. He's an incredible talent. We've had some kind of crappy ones. I mean, Ronald Darby, your buddy Jalen Mills.
He wasn't bad. He's still out there.
We've had some dreck out there. So it gives you the feelings of like, you know, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown type of days with Cooper DeJean. You know, maybe even the Troy Vincents, Bobby Taylors, who were my absolute favorite players. But anyway, you know, it gives you that feeling that we finally found a lockdown corner who is really, you don't have to worry about that side of the field. It's fantastic. And I think he should win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And to go to MVP, offensive side, I don't know your feelings on it, and I don't think that they'll give it to a running back, but if Saquon isn't at least in the conversation for the league MVP, he's got to be the front runner for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Sold. I'm already signed. I sent in my ballot the other day. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, just seeing the turnaround. If you just talk about his turnaround from last year to this year, he's got it locked in.
Yeah, it's amazing to see what an offensive line can do for you. And we'll talk about it around the NFC, but we'll talk about what happened yesterday. So
jump on it right now. Let's talk around the NFC, and you can get right to the news, right to the bottom of our news pile.
I love it. So I want to take your memory back. A few years ago, we're not going to give Saquon a long-term extension because, you know, he's a running back. So what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to invest in Daniel Jones, $40 million a year, guaranteed contract because he's our future. Benched. Absolutely fantastic. Benched his ass for Tommy DeVito, who's running the pizza shop. But it's just
yo ma.
Absolutely just horrible franchise. Couldn't have happened to a better franchise. It's funny to me that happened, and they benched him, and yet the running back that they said all over, cable that, oh, we're not going to invest in him, Daniel Jones is the future. He's absolutely tearing the league apart.
That just goes a little more. And before we get some more around the news on the NFC, I just want to tell you what our current NFC East standings are. Of course, our Eagles at 8-2, and the Redskins at 7-4. The lovely Cowgirls at 3-7. And since we were talking about the Giants at their reverse of the Eagles, 2-8, so way to go, Jones. Jim Moore, I hope you're sleeping well at night. So let's
what's going to be even better? What's going to be even better is I foresee this happening. They're going to put in Tommy DeVito, and he's going to win them a game or two, and it's going to completely blow away their plans because they're not going to get a good quarterback in the first round. I could see that happening because what is it? You put in Tommy DeVito, you expect, oh, we're going to start losing because we're going to play for what? Shador Sanders or whatever the hell's going on out there. He's going to win a few games, and the Giants are going to continue to be in purgatory.
They are for years to come because they're locked in. They already spent all that money on Daniel Jones. Yes, we're loving it. Yes, we're NFC East stuff. The only thing that could be better is obviously Dak is out for the season. He had season-ending surgery on his hamstring. In fact, I learned that the hamstring is attached to the pelvic with 3 muscles, and he ripped out one muscle completely. It had to be surgically reattached. 6 to 8 months recovery just in time for training camp next year. Way to go, Dallas. So that means great. We're knocked 2 of them out. We don't anticipate they're going to be around, and nobody anticipated the Commanders actually to be where they're at. Dan, before we wrap things up, let's run around the things. I got to tell you, there's no more undefeated teams. KC is now knocked out 9-1. Thank you for the Bills. Josh Allen's for his 17-yard TD run looked really freaking great in the game. Bills Mafia came out and hosted it right up. I was in Buffalo. I'm actually very happy. I mean, I feel bad for Andy Reid. That's about it. Not the rest of the team.
Yeah, I'm tired of seeing Kansas City, to be honest with you. And, I like Buffalo.
I do too.
If I was a fan of the AFC, I'd be a Buffalo Bills fan because their fans are passionate and I can relate to them because the fans get a bad rap and their team has kind of been, they haven't seen success in a long time, kind of like us. And I would love to see them in the Super Bowl. I'd love to meet them in the Super Bowl. I think that would be a hell of a matchup.
I think it would be a great game. First of all, before I get to the next line, what's the deal with Travis Kelce, man? He has had a bad season.
Yeah, it's been a little weird to see him have a bad season, to be honest.
He had one good game. One good game out of it. He wasn't in this. And the only reason I really, really know that is because he was on my fantasy league. He got me 2 points. Kind of like, geez, I got to bench this guy and ditch him. My son's be like, I told you to get rid of him and put Goddard in. Well, Goddard just came back from hamstring. I was very concerned about it, and I should have as an Eagles fan, but I was just trying to win. I'm done with Kelce. But anyway.
Yeah, my fantasy team went down the shitter when Tua went down, and my first round pick of Tyreek Hill just wasn't doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah, Kelsey's having a bad season. Lions, NFC East. I think that's going to be our challenge there. Or NFC, sorry, not East. They are dominated. They dominated the Jags, but to be honest with you, it's the Jags. I mean, I don't think they're going to be really doing that much, but I just like how they're playing. I like Campbell. I think he is such a passionate coach, and he's just very high. I mean, I don't think he's ever played a snap or a down. I mean, he's been on a team, but just to see him, that it's pretty cool. To be honest with you, I mean, I know it's NFC, but still, the Lions, they haven't had anything in a while.
Yeah, they are a good team. They are the team to beat. They are going to be our main competition. They're in a rough division, being the NFC North, so they're going to have to come out of that.
Minnesota's right there.
We might, I mean, as long as we take care of business, we might have a chance to catch up to them because of the fact that I was looking at their schedule the other day. They still have to play Buffalo, and they still have to play Minnesota. They still got to play Green Bay. So they do have some hard competition coming up. So that could be an opportunity for us to catch up, but we have some hard competition coming up too.
Yep.
But they are the class of the NFC. I think, honestly, at this point, if you were to say, are we going to beat them? I think whatever team is home is going to win that game.
Yeah.
I think if they come to Philly, they're going to have a hard time. I think that if we go to Detroit, it's going to be a hard time. But yeah, they are the class
I
of the
think
NFC.
the Lions are going to be up there. I think I agree with you. I think the Vikings are going to be a wild card just because, and I think it's going to be, but we'll have the better record. So I think, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's between the Lions and us. I just feel that they're really, but they do, like you said, they have a tough coming up. And I think if the Bills knock them out, it'll be great, or at least take another loss. By the way, before I change the subject, in the beginning of this season, I predicted the record either 17-0 or 15-2. I'm still good. Just saying.
What was I think it was 13-4.
Yeah.
So to look ahead going into that, we've got we have Sunday night against the Rams. We've got
that
then
is
the
an 8:20
Ravens
game
in
for everybody
Baltimore.
here on the East Coast. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, Dan.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. 8:20. Then we've got Baltimore in Baltimore. That'll be a hard one.
Yep.
Then we
That'll be
finally
a true
come
test for
home, I
defense,
believe.
for the run defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll definitely. I mean, Baltimore's been a little weird to me. I thought they'd be a lot better than they are. But yeah, that'll be a
Derrick
difficult
Henry would have a lot
challenge.
more the last game, but he didn't. It seems it'll be, and once again, I really follow that.
Yeah, they're a weird
fantasy.
team.
Yeah, ups and downs.
They're a very weird team. But yeah, I mean, we got a stretch here that's going to be a little bit difficult. But the good thing to think about is that we still have games against the Giants. We still have a game against the Cowboys. And we do have another game against the Redskins in Washington. But to be honest with you, I think there's going to be more Eagles fans than Washington fans because they just don't scare me. So
yeah, exactly.
But it's going to be interesting.
All right, to wrap it up, Packers barely win against the Bears. I mean, I think the ending was kind of like, oh, they won, and it was like, all right, great.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of any team in the NFC except the Lions, to be honest with you. I think that we can beat. I would say that we're going to go in every game in the playoffs as the heavy favorite. Well, not heavy, but we're going to be the favorite until we get to Detroit. And if we got to play in Detroit, we're going to be underdogs. If they got to come here, I could see it being like one of those pick'em games or a 1.5 point spread or something like that. So
yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a tough one. So like Dan said, coming up on Sunday, the 24th, 8:20 against the Rams. It is, when I said East Coast time, remember they are playing, in the Rams Stadium. So it's going to be a little bit of a different mix for everybody. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good game. Going into it afterwards, they have the Panthers, right?
No, they got the Ravens.
Oh, that's the Ravens. Okay, so then they have the Ravens, which we'll see how that goes. I mean, they played the Ravens in the preseason game. By the way, the Eagles won in the preseason, but that doesn't really count because that's like two-hand touch football. All right, Dan, I got to wrap things up. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, Jon Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify because guess what, Dan?
We're out of here.
Go Birds.